The I've told you before my obsession with Tom Hardy's depiction of Bane. I'm not alone in this, I know. What he did in that, what Heath obviously did as Joker, I think is also fascinating because these are audacious kind of choices these
Oh yeah,
gentlemen made. I mean, this is there's no
there's
half.
no safety net for any of these guys. And Tom, you mentioned Tom Hardy. We talked about him a minute ago. I mean, what he did with that character has yet to be fully appreciated. It's an extraordinary performance, and truly without a safety net. I mean, the voice, the relationship between just seeing the eyes and the brow. All these discussions about the mask and what it would reveal, what it wouldn't reveal. And he, one of the things I remember him saying to me is he sort of put his finger up to his temple, his eyebrow, and said, "Can you give me this to play with? Let people see this." And sure enough, you see there in the film, there's this kind of Brando-esque sort of
Yeah.
brow expressing all kinds of just monstrous things. I mean, it's it's really quite a performance.
Do you remember the moment when, for Heath and or Tom, you saw them early on that gave you confidence that the choices they were making were going to pay off?
In both cases, it was the same. And probably when I came to Dark Knight Rises, I was remembering that and pushed towards it. It was the hair and makeup tests we did. And for the Dark Knight, I had Wally Pfister just get a handheld camera, 35 mil, put a light up on the stage. Heath would come in with one particular type of wardrobe, one particular type of makeup, move around, no sound recording, so not self-conscious, just moving, trying different weapons, different pairs of shoes, and we all sort of got to watch this sort of magical kind of transformation and watch him find, not that he was finding it in that moment, but he was just gradually unveiling the things he'd been working on for months and months and months. And then he'd throw in a line or two, even though there was no dialogue, but you just hear him letting it out, letting the laugh out into the room to echo around and just experimenting with it. And yeah, the tests were incredible looking. And when we came to do Dark Knight Rises, I think probably with that in the back of my mind, I kind of waited till we really had the mask figured out, had endless discussions with Tom. He'd done all this kind of work in advance, but then to see him kind of walk into the harsh top light, kind of walk out there and, uh, assume that character. And I think in both cases, interestingly, the key stills of those characters, um, the one of Heath is a very big close up of Heath with just his eyes and his mouth visible. It was very defining. It was the first image we put out. That was taken during the hair and makeup test, not during
Wow.
principal. Similarly with Tom, there's a great shot of him sort of from behind looking across his back with his head sort of turned to the left that we put out right at the beginning. That was also from his hair and makeup test. So yeah, it's kind of been the way those things have come together. But that's the interesting thing with this generation of actors, of which Heath obviously a phenomenal leader in that, and Tom, just one of the finest of his generation. They fuse the sort of psychological realism, the internal method-based acting of the 70s onwards, well, 50s onwards, really. But they also combine it with this older, more external, call it Olivier, Charles Lawton, that prior generation of, sort of give me the hat and the walking stick and let me sort of find that and see how the walk informs the character. They're coming at it from both ends. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing such fantastic work, from actors like that, who they stand on the shoulders of prior generations who've gone this way or that way. Everything's been external or everything's been internal. And these actors, they're approaching it from both places.